All right, looking at lesson 3, here still dealing with unit rates, we're going to look a little more at the constant proportionality. This first exercise, we're just kind of looking at some common conversions or things that are equivalent or equal. So it says that you can use any of these numbers here in any combination, and then also use the dimensions here to make some true statements. So their example, 30 minutes is a half an hour. So I'm not going to go over all of them, but I'll pick out a couple. So you could just say 6 inches is equal to half a foot. 60 minutes is equal to 1 hour. 24 inches is equal to 2 feet. One half meter is equal to 50 centimeters. Okay, and so you can kind of find different combinations here. Here's just a couple. You can keep going and find more. But that's kind of what this first objective here is just to see how many conversions you can find that are equal to each other using these numbers and these dimensions. Okay, so kind of using that, kind of what we know about conversions and from one measurement to another, looking at centimeters to millimeters, they show you how those correlate. So it says there is a proportional relationship between any length measured in centimeters and the same length measured in milliliters. Sorry, millimeters, not milliliters. Okay, there are two ways of thinking about this proportional relationship. So obviously if you're going from 1 to 10, right, your ratio would be 1/10. Or you could look at it as going from 10 to 1, which is equal to 10. So to go from centimeters to meters, you're going to multiply by 10. All right, so if it's 1 centimeter, you multiply by 10 and you'll get 10 millimeters. Or if you want to go from millimeters to centimeters, so 30 divided by 10 equals 3. Oh, this would be centimeters, this would be millimeters. Okay. So you're either multiplying or dividing, or if dividing, you're actually multiplying by 1/10. Okay, so come over here now, we're going to fill out this chart using what we know about centimeters and millimeters. So it says to complete the table using our knowledge of centimeters and millimeters. Well, at that ruler it just showed us that to find millimeters from centimeters, we just multiply by 10. So 9 times 10 is going to be 90 millimeters. 12.5 times 10 is going to be 125 millimeters. 50 times 10 is going to be 500 millimeters. The last one, 88.49 times 10 is going to equal 884.9 millimeters. Remember, multiplying by 10 just moves the decimal over 1. Okay, and once again, that constant of proportionality is always found by taking, and as we get further, this will be our y value, this will be our x value, would be your any y divided by its corresponding x. So 10 divided by, 90 divided by 9 equals 10. That gives us our constant of proportionality. It's the number that we continue to multiply by to get our new answers. Okay, so it says if you know the length of something in millimeters, you can also calculate its length in centimeters. So up top we multiplied by 10. Now we're going to multiply by 1/10 because there is so according to that ruler, that is the correlation. It's 1/10 of the millimeter value to centimeters. So completing the table, so 70 times 1/10. It's just going to move that decimal over 1 to the left. So that becomes 7 centimeters. Likewise with 245, we multiply by 1/10. That's going to move the decimal over 1 to the left. So that's going to be 24.5. 4 times 1/10 is going to be 0.4. And then 699.1 times 1/10, that's just going to give us 69.91 centimeters. Once again, that constant of proportionality can be found by taking our y value divided by our x value, or the right column divided by its corresponding value in the left column. So 7 divided by 70, which is going to just equal 1/10. Okay, if you like decimals, you can convert that to a decimal. 1/10 is just 0.1. Okay, and that's our constant of proportionality. Once again, it's the number that we are multiplying by to get our answers. So how are these constant proportionalities similar to each other? Well, if you look at them, they are just the inverse of them, of each other. So 10 is really 10 over 1. And so 1/10 is just that flipped. So these are multiplicative inverses of each other, meaning that if we multiply them together, we would get 1, because 10 times 1 is 10, 1 times 10 is 10, 10 divided by 10 would be 1. Okay. Alright, so it says complete the sentences. So to convert from centimeters to millimeters, you can multiply by, so centimeters to millimeters, you multiply by 10. To convert from millimeters to centimeters, you divide by 10, or multiply. So once again, the multiplicative inverse of dividing by 10 is 1/10. All right. So looking at those, just once again, those are inverses. So if you multiply one way, to undo multiplication, you divide. So when we're going from centimeters to millimeters, you multiply. But then on the second one, to undo that conversion, so now you've got the millimeters, you have to divide by what you multiply by. When you divide by 10, it's the same as multiplying by the fraction 1/10. Alright, so this one says, how many square millimeters are there in a square centimeter? Well, remember from scale drawings that the area changes by the scale factor squared. And so our scale factor is also that 10, what we're multiplying by, our constant of proportionality. So 10 squared times 1 is going to give us 100. So there's 100 millimeters squared in 1 square centimeter. Okay, it says how do you convert square centimeter to square millimeters? Okay, how do you convert square centimeters to square millimeters? How do you convert the other way? Okay, so this right here is how we convert to square millimeters. We just take the conversion and square it and then times it by our original area. If we're going to go the other way, So now if we have 1 millimeter squared, that's our starting area. Our scale factor is now 1/10. So 1/10 squared is just 1/100th. Okay, so we just take 1 times our 1/100th, which is going to equal 1/100th, or if you prefer decimals, it would be 0.01, and that would be centimeters squared. Okay, so looking at this last problem, we're looking at traveling. It says that you go 1 hour, or from Pittsburgh to St. Louis it takes 1 hour. You travel 550 miles. So once again, to find our speed, you just take distance divided by time. And so 550 divided by 1 is just going to be 550 miles per hour. Okay, so and it tells us in here that we're traveling at a constant speed. So now from St. Louis to Albuquerque, it takes 1 hour and 42 minutes. We know we're going to go 550 miles per hour because our speed is constant. So we need to multiply our speed by the time we go. However, with our time, we have two different dimensions. We have hours and minutes. So we have to either convert to minutes or we have to convert to hours. So for hours, you go 42 divided by 60. And you can reduce this. 6 can go into both of these. So this would equal 7, and that would equal 10. So 7/10. So you're going 1.7 hours. And so if you multiply that by 550, you will get your distance. Okay, and when we do that, it's not quite double, but it's closer to double. So 550 doubled would be 1100. But when you times it by 1.7, you're right at 935 miles. Okay, last one. So this one is 330 miles. So this is going to be less than 1 hour. So now we need to figure out, well, actually, no. We just need to now work backwards. So we're given the miles. So instead of multiplying by our scale factor, or our constant of proportionality, we're going to divide. So this becomes 330 divided by 550. And when you do that, you can remove the zeros because they both end in 0. 11 goes into both, 33 and 55. So when you divide both by 11, you get 3/5. So, but this is 3/5 of an hour, which is equal to 0.6. So we know that there are 60 minutes in an hour. So 60 times 0.6, that's going to give us 36 minutes. Okay, so we went 36 minutes. Our speed was still 550 miles per hour. Okay, so we found the distance to St. Louis and Albuquerque. That was 935 miles. Once again, we just multiplied our time times our speed to get our distance. We just had to convert our minutes into hours. Now you could also find the unit rate for miles per minute if you wanted to. To do that off the bat, you just go 550 divided by 60, right? Because there are 60 minutes in an hour. So when you do that, you cross out the zeros, and then 6 can go into that. Well, that's 9 and 1/6. So you're going 9 1/6 mile per minute. Okay. We answered how many minutes to Albuquerque? That was 36. Okay. So once again, when we have these tables, we can find our unit rate, or sorry, not our unit rate. Well, it is our unit rate, but our unit rate is also our constant of proportionality. It's the number we're going to multiply by to keep getting our answer. So in this case, it was 550. And to find that, you can always take your corresponding y value divided by your corresponding x value. Okay? Or in the table cases, the right column divided by your corresponding left column. Okay, last thing we want to look at here, this is just the cool down. So we're still using that unit rate. It says Maya is filling her fish tank with water, or her fish tank. Water flows into the tank at a constant rate. Complete the table as you answer the questions. Okay, so how many gallons of water will be in the fish tank after 3 minutes? Explain your reasoning. Okay, so this time is in minutes, so gallons. So if we know it is 0.8 and 0.5, well, if we double 0.5, we would be at 1, right? So then we'd have to double 0.8. And 0.8 times 2 is going to give us 1.6. Okay. Another way we could have found this is by taking our 0.8 divided by 0.5. And when you do that, you'll get 1.6. So that's equal to 1.6. So two ways you can do it. Remember, it's your y divided by your x, or your right column number divided by its corresponding left column number. Okay, so now this gives us our constant of proportionality. So to find out how many gallons we fill up in 3 minutes, we just take 3 times that number, 1.6, and that will give us our total gallons. So 3 times 1.6, that would be 3.6 times 0.6 times 3 is 1.8, so that would be 4.8 gallons. Okay, and now once again, we're now trying to work backwards. We're not given the time, we're given the water, the gallons. So we have to do the opposite of multiplication, which would be division. So we're dividing now on this last one to find our time. So if you've got 40, it's now divided by 1.6. And when you take that divided by 1.6, okay, so that would be 400 divided by 16. I just simply move the decimal over one. 16 can go into 40. So this would be 232. That's going to leave us with 8 to bring down the 0. 80, 16 can go into 80. So 16 times 4 is 64. So 5 times, that's going to give us 80. Cancel out 0. So that would be 25 minutes to fill 40 gallons. All right, so once again, to find our constant of proportionality is that number that we've multiplied by, which was that 1.6. And that can once again be found by taking any right number or right column number divided by its corresponding number in the left column. So for example, 4.8 divided by 3 is equal to 1.6. Right, and that's looking at kind of taking a closer look at that constant of proportionality, that number that we're multiplying by. Once again, it's very similar to our scale factor with scale drawings.